And welcome to another episode of The Relationship Theory. Here we take difficult emotions and we talk them out like they're a regular conversation. This afternoon, we have the topic of after a breakup. I just saw a post, a piece of content on Instagram that was describing something interesting. And it said, it depicted rather than said, the piece of content was an internal dialogue. That's how the user meant to represent it between someone in a relationship. One was leaving the other, and the other one wasn't staggered, but accepted it with grace, understanding that if you don't want me, I don't have to swear myself off about it. I can just accept it. It's good information to have that you're breaking up with me. I can just find someone else. The question, the dialogue ensued after the person asked, wait, you're not upset that I'm letting you know that I don't want to date you anymore? And they were like, no, it's good information to have. I'll just find someone else that wants me if you don't want me. Indicating that the secure attachment style that one has to themselves reflects itself in such a way that upon being dumped, it's just a transition on to the next. What I understood it as, though, understanding the kind of person I am and have been in relationships, and my takeaway from it was that a little less than being upset that a person doesn't have a staggering reaction or any reaction at all to being broken up with. The person in a relationship who doesn't want to be in a relationship is actually someone who has witnessed a part of themselves that they no longer want to entertain on behalf of the relationship with the other person. You're not breaking up with the person. I say you're not breaking up with the person, you're breaking up with the part of you believed needed to be in the relationship. And this happens a lot. This happens in friendships. This happens in situationships. This happens in a lot of interactions between people. This happens in career. This happens in work. It happens in life. But it happens all over the place where the person you believed you needed to be for the thing that you engaged with and were engaging and were interacting with is not who you need to be now for the stage that you're at. You could go and say that the relationship itself wasn't enough of a reflection to the need. And by that I mean, if the relationship is ending, if it has gone its route, then this is the end of that relationship. Suppose, though, that relationship existed for the person to let go of whatever they needed to in the relationship to be the best for the person that they were with until the inevitable result of letting go of all that was letting go of one's self, one's own imagined need of what it took to have a relationship with themselves, with that relationship, and with the other person. Because in effect, and I say this in my book, In You Are You, you're not having a relationship with the person, you're having a relationship with the relationship you have with the person. Both of you are putting in to a pocket called relationship, you and another person. And what that does is create a sort of bank account from which you both can withdraw information. I'm sorry, excuse me for the loud noise. Leaving you both fulfilled and satisfied. What most people come to find, though, and however, is that in relationships where that is the case, you're depositing into a relationship, it might be that one person is withdrawing, the other one is making deposits. It could also be that even if the other person in the relationship is making deposits, that's not the kind of were they to withdraw anything from the relationship account, that's not the kind of items, merchandise, energy, attention, time, space they were looking to have. And so the relationship fails. And not only does it fail, but it highlights another need, another space, another bubble for the relationship that the person has with themselves, to call in. When you break up with someone, even if you spoke up about what it was that you needed in the relationship, if you're already doing the work on the inside, there isn't even a need for the conversation. Because if you're the kind of person who deposits into the accounts of relationships where you expect the ability to find yourself in the relationship and you cannot get it, that relationship in itself is not offering you what you need. And so therefore, when you leave or wish to relieve or decline developing that relationship any longer, it's merely the result of coming to find oneself at the end of what they can give. We really need to look at breaking up and relationships and letting go with much more grace and serenity than we're used to. And we also need to stop looking at the topic of breaking up as if it's a negative or bad thing. A little less attention on the breaking up and a bit more on the idea that relationships that need to be let go of have reached their full capacity. You're always being the best you possibly need to be at any given moment. So consider it a win, actually, when you realize you don't want to be in a relationship any longer, and allow it to take its place. A little less on the pain of letting go and a little bit more on the joy, the ecstasy, and the relief that comes with realizing that there is more, that you need more, that you require more, that you're all right with a relationship not giving you what you need. Because perhaps what certain relationships give you is the ability to release them. When it comes to the relationship with one's own self, there are certain things that you're holding on to that keep you from giving to the relationship at large that you have. One with yourself, one with the world, one with yourself, one with other people in your life who can give at the same level that you give. And we also need to stop glorifying one-sided relationships where one person receives and the other one withdraws. This is another thing that the world hyper-focuses on a bit too much. The pain of separation. How about the liberty of separation? Y'all. How about the liberty of distance? Y'all. How about those things? Those things would be nice. Those things would be helpful. Breakups don't actually hurt that much, especially when we realize how easy it is to move on. It's not easy. It's not easy to move on just because you have someone that can fill the immediate space of the pain that comes to the forefront at the end of a relationship, at the realization of the gap, of the void, of the space in the relationship that you were just having. And perhaps that's even another indication. It's like I say in my book, and this one comes to mind very often, it's like the ego, where when one is surprised at an ego being shattered, one ought to realize how often, how much one is leaning on a very thin, tall panel of glass that shatters upon leaning on it too forcefully. If you lean on something that is too flimsy as far as its capacity to hold one up, as far as its build, it will break. It does shatter. That's your ego. And likewise, when you lean on relationships with very little support or one-sided support, it will break. It will shatter. That is what most relationships entertain these days. But they shatter just like the ego does. So do we want ego-based relationships, or do we want heart-based relationships? With the heart, it takes a really long time to materialize the physical things, but that is because the heart is always engaged in all matters at hand of the day. So as to say, you already have everything you need. You just need to give a little more. That's this episode of The Relationship Theory. Feel free to use that description box down below. It has all the links you need to support me, to donate, to purchase my books, You Are You, The Breakthrough Protocol, and The Phenomenon of Manifestation, and to purview all other ways I have the podcast. I would love to get some new people on it. I have the Instagram accounts and the relationships that you can follow me there. I have the blog there and the link tree, especially the link tree, everyone. Use the link tree. I ask you to use that link tree and explore. I really want this world that the relationship theory is stemmed from to grow into something very beneficial for everyone involved. Not just the listeners, not just you listeners, but I do thank you listeners for having joined me on this ride from season 1 to season 3 and more. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your afternoon.